Hello and welcome to Warhammer Wednesday. This week's video I will be reviewing the brand new Imperial Knight Dominus class called the Castellan. The main difference between the Castellan and the Valiant is the Castellan has this volcano lance and plasma decimator, and the Valiant has like a thundercoil harpoon and a conflagration cannon. It's like a big, huge flamer. So they're the two differences. This kit will cost you £100. And before I get into the review, I just want to say that you can't make the Castellan and the Valiant in one of the kits. They are separate kits. So if you want a Valiant, buy the Valiant kit. If you want a Castellan, buy the Castellan kit. One of these will cost you £100. It's only 3 sprues, which shocked me when I unboxed it, and 2 of those sprues are almost identical, and then the third sprue is different. It's different to the Valiant. Even the carapace for this Castellan is things are moved around a little bit, and obviously the weapons are different, and the faceplate and things like that. The number of carapace mounted weapons though is the same, so you can have 2 shield breaker missiles, or sorry, 4, and you can have 2 shield breaker cannons on either of the 2 variants. I just wanted to make that point. You don't get 3, you just get 2 pairs of shield breaker missiles, or 1 pair of shield breaker cannons, if that sort of makes sense, because the missiles are treated as separate. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. The model itself, absolute joy to build. Games Workshop have done a really good job. Won't take you as long as you think, might even take you less than an actual Imperial Knight. You'll get your money's worth in time building it, posing it, all the rest of it. I've glued my arms kind of in that position, but I've let them, you know, go from side to side a little bit. But you can completely glue them in place if you wish. Likewise, these melter weapons, I think I've glued one, and the other one I can rotate a little bit. The head, I think I've glued that into place, but you don't have to do that. You can kind of leave everything loose if you wish. If you magnetize these shoulder pauldrons, I suppose you could take them off and rotate the arms and take the arms off to swap them out. But you know, if you're going to swap them out with a Valiant, well, you'll have a Valiant kit anyway. I haven't glued or magnetized the top carapace weapons at all, and that's because literally you can just put, you know, 2 lots of missiles on and 1 cannon if you wish. So it all works, you know, with the carapace mounted weapons. You can just swap them about. So yeah, the kit was very straightforward. You won't really have any problems. It is a big kit, big plastic kit, but don't let that intimidate you. The legs are quite decent, the way that they've constructed those, and it's got the 2 power plants, I suppose, and, you know, exhaust stacks. There lots of detail on this kit for plastic. I love this mini volcano cannon that they've gone for, this volcano lance. And the big plasma weapon is pretty cool too, kind of like the plasma weapon on the Redemptor Dreadnought. So yeah, lots of detail going on, quite a straightforward kit to build. You won't really have any issues. When I first saw pictures of it, the fact that the carapace, this little split here is longer than the other, still remains. So I don't know, maybe it's possibly designed that way, but who knows? It's mechanicum for you, right? So that's the Castellan in all its glory. I'll just show you some size comparisons before I go through all of the rules, which are nice and juicy. So next to the smaller knights, which you will be getting reviews on, the Helverins, here's a Helverin I made earlier. So you can just imagine, you know, a pair of these, just so happen to have a pair of these, striding round them, providing cover fire and all the rest of it. So that's it next to a Helverin. Next to a normal Imperial Knight. They are taller than a normal Imperial Knight, only just though, only just as my Instagram photo showed, but yeah, they're just a little bit taller. The shoulder pauldrons, shoulder plates, they are higher, and then these carapace mounted weapons just make them even more taller. Weapon wise though, similar kind of size weapons. If anything, I think that thermal cannon is probably bigger, you know, than the plasma decimator there. But there you go. That's the size comparison with the normal Imperial Knight, a Knight Errant, and then the Helverin. Compared to some standard 40k models, we've got a Contemptor Dreadnought here. You can fit one of those underneath his hips. So that just goes to show you that size comparison. And then I've got next to a Primaris Space Marine and a normal Space Marine. So not even at knee height for this model. So I hope those help. Now this is my part of the review where I will go through all of the rules. You'll find them in your brand new Imperial Knights Warhammer 40,000 8th edition Codex. They are a Lord of War choice, like everything pretty much is in the book. You'll find them quite far in the back after Canis Rex, the kind of named character. So the Knight Castellan is a power points cost of 30. You compare that to a normal Imperial Knight, like a Knight Paladin, that's 7 power points more. So very costly to have a Castellan, and the Valiant is the same points. So the most expensive units in the Codex are the brand new Imperial Knights. In match play points cost, the Castellan is 510 points, whereas the Valiant is 500. You will need to pay for all of the carapace mounted weapons though. So the twin Siegebreaker cannon, they're 35 points apiece. So that's 70 points, plus your Shieldbreaker missiles, which are 12 points. So that's 82 points on top of your 510. That's 592 points. It's a lot of points. You don't have to pay anything for the Volcano Lance or the Plasma Decimator. They're like part of the Knight. And you don't have to pay anything for the twin melter guns either. So that's nice, but you are paying about 600 points in match play for this model. The Valiant, it's the same story. It's 500 points, and then if you want to choose what they've got on the box, the Shieldbreaker missile, then you're going to have to be paying 12 points per Shieldbreaker missile. I should have said that in the previous one. So actually the Castellan is 604 points. Whereas the Valiant, you're going to have to pay for all of those 4 Shieldbreaker missiles, which is going to be 48 points on top of your 35 for the cannons, which is going to be 593 points. So this version is more expensive than the Valiant, just putting it out there. So its stat line then, it's one of these models where its remaining wounds affects its characteristics. So if it's got between 15 and 28 wounds, its movement is 10 inches, weapon skill 4+, and ballistic skill 3+, so that's pretty decent. It's got ballistic skill 3+, for like half of its wounds. If it's got between 8 and 14 wounds, its movement drops to 7 inches, its weapon skill 5+, and its ballistic skill to 4+. And then between 1 and 7 wounds, its movement is 4 inches, weapon skill 6+, and ballistic skill 5+. Its strength is 8, its toughness is 8. Like I say, it's got 28 wounds at full strength. It's got 4 attacks, a leadership 9, and a save of 3+. It's a single model armed with the Plasma Decimator, the Volcano Lance, 2 Shieldbreaker missiles, 2 twin melter guns, and 2 twin Shieldbreaker cannons and Titanic feet. So, its main weapons, the reason why you're going to get this Knight, is the long distance Volcano Lance or mini Volcano cannon. That's the main reason. You've got a movement range of 10 inches and a range of that Volcano Lance of 80 inches. So you've got effective range of 90 inches. It's a super heavy walker, so it doesn't suffer any penalties for moving and shooting the heavy weapons. So bear that in mind. You're buying this, you're paying your 600 points or so to have that 90-inch range. So try and get on the biggest battlefield you possibly can. There's no point taking one of these on a standard 6x4 table, because that's what, 48 inches or so. You're always going to be able to hit everything. And it's just a waste of points. You might as well just have lots of las cannons and things. But the Volcano Lance itself, as I say, 80 inches, it's heavy D6, kind of sucks a bit because you could get 1 shot, or you could get 6. Its strength though is 14, and its AP is a whopping -5, and it does do 3 D3s worth of damage. So statistically you're going to get 6. You can also re-roll failed wound rolls when targeting Titanic units with this weapon. That's great. Find a Titanic unit, you can re-roll those failed wounds. The other weapon, the Plasma Decimator, on its right arm, essentially a 48-inch range plasma cannon. It's got a standard firing mode, which is 48 inches, heavy 2d6, strength 7, AP -3 and damage 1, and then of course, because it's a plasma weapon, it has a supercharge. Same range, same heavy 2d6, but this time the strength bumps it up to 8, damage of 2. However, when you have a hit roll of a 1, which is possible with 2d6 worth of dice, the bearer suffers 1 mortal wound after all the weapon shots has been resolved. I don't know whether that's worth it, getting the extra strength and 2 damage. It does have a lot of wounds, but you have one of these on the battlefield and it is going to be a magnet for ranged weaponry. And close combat weaponry, actually. Its other weapons then. So it's got 2 twin melter guns. They're 12-inch range, assault 2, strength 8, AP -4, d6 damage weapons. Just the 12-inch melter weapons, basically. And you roll 2 dice when inflicting the damage result if the target is within half range. You've got to be really close though, 6 inches. Just bear that in mind. Then it's carapace mounted weapons. So mine's equipped with its standard loadout, which is 2 Siegebreaker cannons and 2 Shieldbreaker missiles. Mine's equipped with 2 twin Siegebreaker cannons and 2 Shieldbreaker missiles. You've got 2 twin Siegebreaker cannons there, and then 2 Shieldbreaker missiles. So we'll start off with the Siegebreaker cannons. The twin Siegebreaker cannons, 48-inch range, which is brilliant. So it plays off with this long-range weapons platform. Heavy 2d3, so again, statistically, you're probably going to get about 4 shots. Strength 7, AP -1, and damage d3. That's not too bad. You're getting your strength 7 and you're getting your damage d3. The Shieldbreaker missiles, however, same range, but heavy 1 shot. Strength 10 though, AP a whopping -4, damage d6, and each Shieldbreaker missile can only be fired once per battle, and a model can only fire 1 each turn. So you've got 2 there, so you've got 2 turns of firing 1 each. Invulnerable saving throws cannot be made against wounds caused by this weapon. That's horrific. It's got the strength 10, the AP -4, and on top of that, you can't take your invulnerable. So that's a good character killer kind of weapon for a strength 10. And then on top of that, it's got its titanic feat, which is a strength of the user, which is still 8, AP -2, and damage d3. And you make 3 hit rolls for each attack made by this weapon. So that's preferable in close combat. You've got 4 attacks and you make 3 hit rolls. You got 12 attacks, essentially, at strength 8, AP -2, and a damage d3, which isn't anything too shabby. It can still kick things about. War gear options. The model may replace one of its twin Siegebreaker cannons with 2 Shieldbreaker missiles. So basically you're going to be able to load it out just like the Valiant. So its abilities. It has an iron shield. So that means the model has a 5+ invulnerable save against ranged weapons. That's nice, 3+ normal, 5+ invulnerable. Dual plasma core explosion. If the model's reduced to 0 wounds, you roll 2d6 before removing it from the battlefield, and if you roll a 6 on either dice, it explodes. And each unit within 2d6 suffers d6 mortal wounds. If you roll a 6 on both dice, each unit within 3d6 suffers d6 mortal wounds instead. That's horrific. That's worth it just to plough it against the enemy and watch it explode at 3d6. And finally, super heavy walker. So the model can fall back in the movement phase and still shoot and or charge in the same turn. When the model falls back, it can move over enemy infantry and swarm models, though it must end its move more than 1 inch away from enemy units. And in addition, the model can move and fire heavy weapons without suffering the penalty to its hit rolls. And finally, the model only gains a bonus to its save for being in cover if at least half of the model is obscured from the fire. That makes sense too, because it's super heavy. The keywords: Imperium, Imperial Knights, Questa, Allegiance, Household, Titanic, Vehicle, Dominus Class, Knight Castellan. So they're all the rules for this brand new Dominus class of Knight. It is the weapons platform, the long range kind of firing platform for Imperial Knights. Imperial Knights typically normally have a movement of 12 inches. They have the 3+ normal save and a 5+ invulnerable. Then they have the toughness of 8 and strength of 8. This thing is a little bit slower at movement 10 inches, but it does have 4 more wounds and is packing way more weapons. If you kitted out a Knight Crusader with an Avenger Gatling cannon and a thermal cannon, or even replace the thermal cannon with a rapid fire battle cannon, you're still only looking at a Crusader with a 72-inch range main weapon, a 36-inch range secondary weapon. It would have the heavy flamer on the Gatling cannon. You could give it the heavy stubber, and you could give it a carapace weapon such as a Storm Spear rocket pod, but it still wouldn't have nearly as much firepower as this Castellan. This Castellan has the two big powerful weapons. Plasma Decimator, it's nice that it's 48-inch range. You've got an effective range of 58 inches, which is unheard of. It's nice that it's 2d6 shots. The Volcano Lance, though, with its effective range of 90 inches is where it's at, though. The twin melter guns are nice, but you've got to be within the 12 inches. But it's also great that it has these twin Siegebreaker cannons that have the potential of knocking up 8 extra shots of strength 7. And the Shieldbreaker missiles are nice too. You couple this thing with a Sacristan Forge Shrine close by, and then it can replenish those missiles, or it can definitely pump out 12 shots of the plasma, or it can definitely pump out 6 shots of Volcano Lance. So that Forge Shrine could be a key tool in getting the most out of one of these long-range fire support Imperial Knights. Anyway, if you haven't already guessed, I'm a huge fan of this model. I really like the look of it. I like the rules for the most part. I think it's fantastic that Games Workshop have added something more. Now they need to get off the bum and make a plastic Warhound. You know, definitely. We're going to see these mini plastic Warlord Titans and Reaver Titans. If they can do it that small, surely they can design the sprues and things to make them in plastic in the not too distant future. That's what I'd like to think anyway. And this is from someone who owns the more expensive resin models. Anyway, what do you guys think of the Knight Castellan? Do you think that it should have had a better invulnerable save? Do you think it should be able to just normally project its iron shield out rather than rely on a stratagem? Or are you quite underwhelmed with some of its weaponry? Please do put it in the comments below as always. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.